Today we want to talk a little bit about getting some security systems set up here in the office. I'm going to be doing a review of a wired security camera system here. And we're going to go through all of the settings. We're going to see, how might they want you to use it if you want to view things on your phone. What else can we do to be a lot more private and more secure, i.e. not having your cameras on the internet. And we're just going to poke around and see what the extent of this thing is. So, of course, I wanted to set up some security when I got here, and I'm looking at a better system, particularly of all the different analyses I've seen. The Reolink appeared to be the best, but I don't have a full expanded network, wireless network around the whole office space yet. We are working on that. I'll be working on that hopefully by the end of the year. So I don't want to do that. And I wanted to get something I could buy at a local store. And so looking at all of the various options, there's only one camera available in local stores that you can pick up around the country that does not require you to connect it to the internet to get everything set up. And it does not require you to use an app for all of the features. And that was the Nightowl system. So I picked this one up here. Now, these ones have wired and wireless options. This is the 4-camera box. It has a DVR in it that can connect 8 wired cameras and 4 additional wireless cameras. So you can buy separate wireless cameras. You can buy these at Best Buy, if not other places as well. And it was more expedient to get something set up for some of the outer perimeter because as I came back from being away for a week and there were police officers over there, it turns out that one of my neighbors happens to have some warrants and some of them center around the theft area. And, we've already known that there were some issues and some problems in the neighborhood anyway. So we are going to go ahead and have a look at this box here. And I am going to point out some things here. I'm going to keep this box and all the internal things forever and ever because, there's a lot of things, a lot of claims down here that if they decide they want to make more money later on by being like, hey, here's a subscription fee, then I want to have the box, like this one, local storage, no monthly fees. Yeah, I can imagine the company being down, be like, oh, Now, I did look around on these cameras. They do not have the absolute best of reviews. The one person who I watched a video analyzing a number of different cameras for the wireless ones, he had a hard time getting those connected to his network. Like I said, this is a wired system, so I'm not anticipating those issues. I've also heard they may not have the best of customer support. Be aware of that. In one thread suggested that the cameras may not be as weatherproof as they claim, but that could simply be a single manufacturing defect unless I've seen dozens of those particular claims. And so with that, this comes with a risk picking this guy up, but it was only $300 for a setup. So we're going to go ahead and have a look at what is in the box. If there's a severed head in here, I'm just going to give it to Brad Pitt,
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
What's in the box? All right. So we open the box up and it'll have in here this guy here. And I've already poked around just to have a brief look so I know what everything is off the top. But I did restore it back to how it was. So this box over here contains your DVR. Okay, so this is the inner box that contains the DVR. And I believe the instructions are in here as well. And there's a couple of cables down here. So there we go. We got a box there. We have a set of instructions, and the instruction set, as I said, I did already look around at everything in here. The instruction set actually gives you the setup guide for both connecting it to the internet or doing it. So you can see down here in the instructions, we have an option, easy Bluetooth wireless setup. And then we also have the manual setup. I'm actually effectively going to do the manual setup, but we'll install the app. I want to see, can the app work without Google Play services? And can you use the app to get any form of notifications, even if you do not put the cameras on the internet? Can I set that up via any form of VPN or anything? We have an HDMI cable, and we have an Ethernet cable, and let's see if we can get any insight as to what type of cable they gave us. Did they give us something crappy that's cheap, or did they give us something decent here? So this is a Cat 5e cable. So as far as for a security camera system, I don't think that's too horribly bad. And this is, of course, 2K. Now the DVR box itself, here is your DVR box. And you open this guy up. Actually, I've never opened this guy up yet. We'll just keep it in the bag for now. So there are the 4 channels, the 8 channels here. We have an HDMI port, we have 2 USBs, we have a LAN, and we have a power port. And that is all that is in the DVR here. So the next thing in the box is going to be this guy here, which contains your cameras and your wiring. So each camera looks like this here. This is the Nightowl camera, and these are indoor-outdoor cameras. They do have an LED spotlight on them as well, so in theory you can set it up that you can go ahead and have it shine if something comes by. And these guys here, looks like more of a proprietary type plug. There is a standard for this, and hold on, it's on the box. I'll tell you what the standard is there. So it's not like totally proprietary. It's wired BNC. So maybe it's not, proprietary. It's just wired BNC. And then each one has a power up couplet here. And then it has your input here. So inside of each camera then we'll have under here, we have these guys here are power splitters. There's one of these so that you can plug one AC adapter will plug into 4 separate cameras. You say, wow, that's really short. Well, each one, there's also 4 of these, and these are 60-foot length, and these will carry both power and signal back to the receiver. So wherever your receiver base is at, you're going to have 60 foot of wiring to deal with. So you can put it in a spot that makes sense for how you're running everything. And then we get 2 of these power, and I'm not sure if they're exactly the same or not. They're not labeled directly, but I'll have a look at the power when we actually get to setting this up, and I will let you know what that looks like. So we got our 4 cameras, we have 2 power supplies, and for some weird reason, yay, we get a USB mouse. I am totally surprised it doesn't have a trackball on the bottom. This feels like one of the lowest quality mice I've ever had. It just simply says optical mouse, rating 5E, 100 milliamp, made in China, AK895. So I'm not expecting great things out of this mouse. Although watch, it's the most amazing mouse I've ever seen. But we have that. So there's our cameras. There's our 4 power supplies. This is your power splitter for your cameras. And that is all that is in the box. So let's talk really briefly about wired and wireless cameras, of course. Wireless cameras will require your wireless network, some form of good wireless network that's going outside of your home area. And they will generally connect to that way, and then you would have to connect them to something that can read them, either the company servers or an app, or you can use an open source application like ZoneMinder, which I have not yet played around with, and I will eventually, probably, in fact, I'm going to say definitely not before this video is released, but I will play around with ZoneMinder at some point in time. The other thing is you can connect many of your wireless cameras to Home Assistant, which we will be looking at soon, also not before I finish this video. But the wireless cameras do require some extra form of connection, and that's one of the reasons I did not want to start with those. I wanted to use this system here because all the cameras tie into a DVR. The DVR constantly records if I need to extract any information from it. The wired system does provide a little bit better power in case the signals don't connect. Now, the one thing I did see that is concerning me about these cameras is somebody did comment that if too many of the spotlights on the cameras turn on all at once, it could shut the cameras down because these power supplies are not actually pushing a lot of power through them. And if you're trying to run the whole camera plus the spotlight on all of them, one of these powering 4 cameras, that is a point of limitation. In fact, on a forum thread, somebody asked on their own forum, they simply said, hey, maybe get another power supply. So that could be something you do if you have problems. You can pick up, this is a generic power supply. I did look at them. They are actually labeled. There's a label down here. One of them says power supply for DVR. The other one says power supply for camera. But they are identical power supplies. So in theory, you could buy another one of these, or it's just a generic 12 volt 2 amp power supply. So you could pick up one of these, a generic power supply that pushes that with a standard, this is a very standard size port, and I'm forgetting off the top of my head what it is, like a 4.5 by 2 millimeter. It's a 5.5 by 2, I think. It's a very, very standard plug that goes in here. So you could pick up one of these anywhere. You could probably order another power adapter directly from them if they do that. So there's about those. So the next thing we're going to do here, we're going to put the DVR, we're going to put it on the internet first before we attach any cameras. We're going to see if there's any basic setup we can do without the cameras and see if there's any firmware it wants to download and see what else it might want us to do. All right, so I have my test bench here set up. I got my router online over here. And I have my monitor over here that flashes colors until it has a signal. I have a cat over there, and I have a camera hopefully looking at the cat. And then what I did here is I put the, basically just hooked everything in over here. I hit the power switch back here, and everything should turn on. I've not restricted this thing from the internet, but we're going to find it in our DHCP lists. We're going to set it as a static IP, and then we're going to reboot the system, and then that's going to give me the ability to block it from the internet in the future. So let's go ahead and hit the button. Okay, just heard some clicking from the camera. Apparently, if you have the app, then you can actually communicate with people. So there is the DVR kicking on there. It says Nightowl. So the good thing about this little 12 volt monitor I have is if I ever need to go out and plug something directly into the device where this is going to be at, I can just take this monitor. There you go. Easily set up your Nightowl device with the Nightowl Protect app to view systems from the app. Follow these steps. Enable Bluetooth on your smart device. Download the Protect app and log in, and the device should automatically pop up. Click continue. So I am not, the part about this I do not like is log in. I'm not really interested in that. I am going to do it eventually. I'm not going to do the setup here, but you know, I don't have well, actually I do have my test device. So I could actually set it up on the iPhone. I might actually do that just to see the experience. I'm going to test it out on the Aurora store on a Lineage phone without the Google Play services. Now there's an option down here that's manual setup, not recommended. So strongly recommends registering your device. Of course, I am not interested in registering my device with them. Registering your device ensures your device remains secure if it goes into wrong hands. After registration, only the registered owner can request a password reset and gain access. So again, I'm not particularly interested in that. Now, what does it mean by only the registered user? I guess that means the registered user can reset the password. So if I did register this and somebody stole the device, then I would have to have it registered in order to have them automatically reset the system. So basically they could vendor lock the system if it gets stolen, if I reported it stolen. On the downside, that means my system is in their grasp and they could potentially remotely access it, unless, of course, I use my pfSense here and prevent it from internet access. But there's always that. So we will continue without the Protect app for now. So it's going to check for firmware updates. So it's getting on the internet now. While it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page over here. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find this particular device online. And then that's going to give me information that I would need here. So looking at my list, I recognize all the devices except this one here that simply says localhost. And that looks like it popped on right about the time I turned this on. So I'm going to be pretty confident that this is what it's going to be. So what I can end up doing here is in pfSense, you'll check your individual, you'll go ahead and check your individual router for instructions. But what I might want to do is I might want to assign a static map. So you can see the ones at the top, I have static maps on these. So I have my Raspberry Pis up there. I have my existing old security cameras still in here. I have my printer set to an IP address. My server is set to an IP address. That way, all the different things, I think this one here is actually my AI server. So you can access different things. You can see the static of these are offline. So you'll have to check your individual instructions, but I can actually probably go to this IP address, and that will probably confirm that's what this is. Let's see what that is. Browser is too new. Some features will not work. Wait, what? Well, that's scary. Yeah, I'm actually translate from Chinese. I'm not really sure I want to download a plugin. Net Surveillance WEP. I don't know about that. Let's not download anything from Chinese apps right now. I mean, I thought this was an American-made company. It said it right on the box, made in the USA. Anyway, let's jump back over. Now that our firmware's set up, we'll go ahead and push our manual. We're going to use continue without the Protect app. It's going to check for firmware again. Is it going to find anything? It just updated. Maybe it has to update a couple of different times. Okay, it is up to date, so now we can continue. We will go English, Espanol, or Francese. We'll go with English. Of course, time zone, Eastern time zone, daylight savings time, and that is the correct time. We'll hit continue. And now we need to change the admin password. We're going to go ahead and do that. Now set up, recommend downloading the Nightowl Protect app. It really wants us to download the Nightowl Protect app for your additional security benefits. I don't know. I just think it's less secure if things are on the internet. So enable your Bluetooth, download the app. Device should automatically pop up. Let's go to live view. Hey, look at that. So we have, said there's a bunch of wireless stuff. There's not enrolled in the signal. And we see we have one camera there. And that's actually a really good quality compared to the other ones that I had. Hello, hello, hello. I don't know. There's the spotlight. Hello.
You're being recorded.
Ooh, smile. You're being recorded. Okay. The cat's like, what? I'm not smiling. I don't want to be recorded. All right. So I can double click on a camera there. I can see that camera much bigger. And let's see, yep, and then double click and it goes back up. So, all right, so there is, so the picture quality is actually not too bad. This is 2K, so that's what it looks like. So our next steps, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up the camera system first, and then I'm going to start playing with the app. After, of course, I go through online and I'm going to set this guy up with its own static IP address. I'm not going to do that here because that's going to be completely dependent on your type of router. But then I'm also going to go in and set something to block this from connecting to the internet. And I'm going to see if I can still access things on LAN. Let's go ahead and try that LAN one more time, though. I just kind of want to see. Here's what we'll do. Let me see what browsers I have on this computer. I have Chromium. I have Firefox. Let's go LibreWolf, and then we're going to grab this guy here. Let's go LibreWolf, paste this in. So it wants us to download something, and I don't know what it's trying to download from. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Look at that. It tried to download a active.exe file. So I'm a little concerned about that. So I'm going to investigate this a little bit, and then I'll turn the camera back on when we see something here. All right. So here is the app. And you can see here, attention, location permission is needed to discovery your recorder nearby. And so, okay, this is Bluetooth. You do not need location services for Bluetooth to work. This app wanted an email. It wanted a first name or a last name. It would not accept a blank answer. Now it's telling me I need to turn on location for Bluetooth, which is not location dependent. It is proximity dependent. If I hit no thanks, it will not actually find the device. So do I want this to allow? Okay, yes. Since this is a security system, we'll just say yes while using this. Okay, oh, look at that. Scan the code. I don't know what the hell it's doing. Okay, never mind. Refreshing. No. If they still not appear, click here. You have added devices, but do not see them. List the device page. We need to reconfirm your security credentials. Log out of the app, then log back in. Hit cancel. All right. So, and if you check my Bluetooth connections, oh, let me turn that back on. Come on, Bluetooth. We were actually connected to the device. Come on, Bluetooth, turn on. That DVR connection, that is the device. So we're actually connected to it. Let's go more settings, make sure we're actually connected. Connect. Well, it was connected. Okay, we're going to shut the app down and restart it. And also notice we're getting ads down here at the bottom. So the app is giving us ads. Yeah, here's user. You don't need that. That was your name. I used a disposable email address. No devices yet. Well, maybe we'll give it access to location. See if it can find devices. Which is kind of funny because it doesn't need that. Okay, so we'll do that. Go to Android settings and enable device location. Oh, now it wants me to turn on my device location. Great. Now I'm logged in. It has my name, presumably my IP address. I did not necessarily hide my IP address. So now it wants me to turn on location to be able to access this, which connects via Bluetooth. So, hey, now it finally finds it after I have to turn on location services and Bluetooth to find something that is proximity dependent. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Let's add that particular device. Checking the firmware, paired successfully. Firmware is up to date. Woo-ha, your device firmware is up to date. Continue. Test all camels locally. Got it. So now we'll give it just a second and it should find our cameras. All right, so there is the one camera. So it detects the camera. There you go. I can see the information on it. Hit done. Don't care. Garbage. There you go. That's what we're naming it. Garbage. Device has been added successfully. Okay. There's a done live view. I guess I can do a live view. Oh, beautiful. That looks like a great picture of the camera. Again, while using the app, we'll do that because it tells us exactly what folder it wants to see. What if I don't want to use DCIM folder? I mean, sure. We'll do that. We'll allow it to keep things there. Okay, so now it's recording stuff. Now, the ultimate question we have with this app is if I turn off location services, let's close the app down. We're going to turn off location services because I don't want to use location services. There's no reason to do that. Let's even turn off Bluetooth. Now, presumably it wants to do all this because it's poking some hole in my security. And being as that the thing wants me to use web browsers that are certainly older than older than 5 years ago, and the back-end code is written in Chinese, and the app won't install on a computer, it wants to turn on Bluetooth. Let's hit deny. So notice that the app can now still do things, presumably because we are connected via the internet. Now let's go ahead and do a fun experiment. I'm going to see what happens when I block the DVR from accessing the internet. Okay, so I did block the system from the internet, and you can see that it is still working. Bluetooth is disabled, so it's not connecting via DVR. So my curious thought here is it connecting via LAN? Now, if it is connecting via LAN, what is stopping my app from still feeding data up to them? That is the ultimate question. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of an experiment of which I need my keys. So I'm going to go outside the range of the network here. If the network dies on the phone, then that'll kind of tell me what it's doing. But then the next thing we want to do is I'm going to connect the phone to the VAN's network, which is not connected to the office network. Okay, so we are now offline. It's going to take me about 3 or 4 minutes to get the internet turned on in the van. So, there we go. Look at that. The internet connection went bad. So, let's go back and hit our reconnect. So, can't find the internet. I'm going to get on the internet in the van and see what happens there. I'll be back in a few. Okay, van internet is turned on. We're going to hit our reconnect button and see what it does. Okay, so this is kind of telling me that something weird is going on because it is still actually able to interact there. Let me turn on the light button. I don't think we can see the light button turn on. But it is actually still connecting even though I have blocked the DVR from accessing the internet. So we are on a completely different network. I'm still able to access things, and that's concerning to me. I have no earthly idea how the cameras are still able to do that having blocked the DVR unless I need to reboot everything in the router. So maybe I need to do some testing of that. Maybe let's go ahead and give that a quick try. Actually, I'm not even on the same network. I can't even give that a try. So something in here is still allowing these cameras to work even though I have blocked access to the DVR, and that is highly disturbing to me. All right, so my final verdict of this device, it is plagued with a lot of weird things, from old coding things to the weird account takeover. That was neat. Let me go ahead and explain all this. This is not the very conclusion. First, of course, let's start getting back over here. If you wanted to try and access your device over a LAN, which some suggestions seem to say you could, you just go here, and then of course you get this JavaScript prompt. Your browser is too new. Some features will not work properly. Please download 51 or earlier. Okay, this is Firefox. When was Firefox 51? When was Firefox version 51? Firefox version 51, 2017, 9 years ago. This web browser wants to see, this camera system wants to use a 9-year-old. So, of course, you got to click the plugin to download. It takes us to this shady site with a 404 page not found. And the source code on this is interesting here, view page source. and looking at this, it's running some JavaScript, and it's basically looking at your client width. Are you using if browser matches Internet Explorer, make sure it's version 52, and then your primary alert is all in Chinese with an English one on there as well. Kind of funny because, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I picked up the box here. There is on this box, I saw it, a giant made in, you look at this, USA owned and operated right on the box. Let me go back on over to the screen there so you can see it. Right there, right on the box. Made in USA owned and operated. Maybe sent over to China for all of the back end. So here's Opera. Here's Chrome. Here's Safari. Firefox is 52 or newer. So this thing is wanting us to use some really old software, and then it's basically running a bunch of code and doesn't let us to go any older because our browser is too new. Now, I tested out and I had a brief moment of potential, maybe this could work, because I did go ahead and install the app. I did it on a Lineage phone with the Aurora store, no Google Play services, and everything on the app did seem to work. But there was a fundamental little problem. The app wanted you to, you have to give them your email address. They kind of want your name. They want a phone number, but they're not seriously hardcore about it. So I went ahead and let me close out a couple tabs here before I jump over. I created the account, of course, my username, of course, this is going back, and it asked me for my full name, and I said, you don't need that. I gave it a disposable email address, and I have no earthly idea what this phone number is. It's something in Indiana. I didn't give it any phone number. This was auto-populated, and I apologize if this is your phone number. But, yeah. And so here is the biggest fundamental problem that I found is that logging in and creating this account for the mobile rewrote all of the login procedures for the DVR itself. Remember, I set the DVR up initially offline mode. I gave it a manual password. Once I created an account with the mobile app, it automatically reset the DVR that I could not log into the local DVR without the DVR now has to have internet access, and without B, using the login that I created, tying it to my name and my address and my email address and my phone number, which fortunately they weren't pushy about that. You did have to verify your email address to use it though. So I'm actually going to go into my account and remove this thing out. I am sending this device back. Oh, I didn't tell you. No, I think I did have a little section there. I did try and install the application for Windows. I first tried it under Wine on Linux. It didn't work. But I actually had to bust out the Windows Surface for this because frankly, this system is getting closer and closer to send it back to the store. So we're going to try reinstalling the application. It was not working, so let's go ahead and reinstall it again. So this is running native Windows. It is Windows 10, but it is native Windows on a Windows Surface. I mean, the fact I had to pull this Windows computer out is annoying. Okay, now I get this. There's some runtimes missing. The application should be up here. And it simply doesn't work. So even on Windows, if I go to the IP address in the browser, it won't work. I can't download the application. I don't have a Mac here to test if it works on Mac or not, but the Windows version apparently does not work either. And the phone app absolutely 100% requires a login. And I wasn't going to sit there and spend an hour and a half trying to figure out how I could get it to work. Good thing, because I installed it natively on Windows and it was fundamentally broken there as well. So the app didn't work for looking offline. And then what I did though is I had a momentary thought of maybe this will work out for me, because in creating the account, and then I went over into my pfSense, and I blocked Nightowl from the internet, and I confirmed that by going on over to the device, and it says it can't get online. And then while it was blocked, and this was the weird part, while it was blocked from the internet, I could still access it on the phone, on the app, on the LAN. I'm like, that's potentially okay. This might be an okay thing if it's connecting via the LAN. But then what I did is I went out to the van where I have a completely different internet line not connected to the network here. And curiously, despite this being blocked from the internet, is still able to access it. And that means it's doing something behind the scenes to poke a hole in my internet, allow this to function. And it would not function without me first logging into that account. So I basically had to give them access to a bunch of information I did not want to give them access to, when they could very easily have made the app to search for the device on a LAN. Additionally, as we highlighted, the app required location services to be turned on to connect to a Bluetooth device. Bluetooth is not location dependent. Bluetooth is proximity dependent. So it doesn't matter how it's working. I don't even know what the function of connecting to Bluetooth is in all reality, other than I think that that's what initially synced it. But then what it did is it rewrote the DVR settings. I could not even reset my DVR to go back to an offline only mode without formatting the device. And that's what I ended up doing to bring it back to the state it's in right now. And so that is definitely a deeply, deeply concerning thing. And I will say that this device has, for me, a resounding do not get this device. This is not going to be a device that will work well. If you are looking for a system like I am that will be offline, you can access it on a local LAN. You know, I looked at every possible way I could keep this device, but there is no way. They're doing weird, shady things. Their browser, they want us to use a 9-year-old browser. Their software will not work. Their app seems to work, but I do not want to have an app that's perpetually connecting to somebody else's servers to use, especially when they seem to have a poor security track record, being as that they're still wanting us to use 9-year-old web browsers. All right, so despite the weirdities and oddities in the software itself, we're going to go ahead and get this guy installed up in the the hobby zone. I don't know, maybe I'll eventually turn this into some type of computer workstation or whatnot. But I have this nice metal cabinet here, and it does look like it'll fit perfectly for the DVR. And I do need to fix the upper lock up here, but that shouldn't be too difficult to manage. So I'm going to drill some holes in the side of this to run the power in and to run the cables for the DVR out the top. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'll try that. We'll see what we can do. I have been doing a little bit of experimenting just to make sure my mounting system worked. There's been a few different ways I've tried. I wanted to wire everything up into the crawl space. It simply can't get up there to get stuff up, at least not in some sane manner. And so we're just going to run all the wires here. I'm just going to run them along the ceiling in here with various fasteners. And then we're just going to put the cameras out in their various localities. So we have everything here. And I did mount the first camera already just to make sure my concept works, fortunately. And the only question I have now is, am I actually going to be able to get a hole in here big enough to feed the power lines through? And that is going to be the question, but I have a couple other things I can work with here. So let's go ahead and unpack the DVR again. Thing's been packed and unpacked so many times. I waffled about turning this thing, taking this back to the store or not, but ultimately I decide, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and keep it. So it will fit in there quite nicely. You can see the door will close. That way I can have it locked inside of here. Hopefully not particularly obvious in the event somebody wants to come in here, but we'll see. So we need to look at, I may or may not bring the powered Ethernet out here. I think I probably will. I'm just not going to set that up quite yet. We do want to make sure we have an HDMI cable available. So I'm not going to bring a monitor out here permanently. I'm just going to use my 12 volt DC monitor and bring that out when I need to access the system out here. And we did find that one way, albeit with a little bit of caution, that we can actually test it inside on the regular computers. So going to start, I'm just going to throw the DVR over here, and then we'll go ahead and start working here. So there's that. Now we have a DVR hooked up with an HDMI cable. Let's see if that still closes with the way that port's back there, not jammed all the way in there, but that looks like it'll work. So what we need to figure out here, my biggest unknown is, are we going to be able to drill holes big enough for the power supplies here? So on the one side of this power supply, we have these, and I tried drilling a 1/2 inch hole, but this is just almost exactly at a 1/2 inch. And so we simply could not get it through. So I thought, let's look at the camera on the other side. Can we feed that through? It's about the same size. It's just under 1/2 inch, but with that 1/2 inch plus, if this is already through, then trying to feed this one through, that would not work either. So I thought a 3/4 inch would probably work better. I didn't have a 3/4 inch, and rather than postpone the project, I just decided to go with a 1 inch, and we're just using a 1 inch electrician's hole saw there. So my question is going to become, can I actually get these guys out through the wiring and back down here? What I might actually have to do is use a grinder and grind a hole in the top rather than drill holes in the top for these wires. Just because as far as the bits, this is wood bit, and the biggest bit that I have for metal is going to be ever so slightly too small. In fact, it does definitely look like that will not fit through. And so it does look like we are going to be stuck with probably using a grinder up here and grinding a hole in the top. And then I'm going to run some lines over there for power. Oh, actually, here's the other option we have. I can possibly use a 1/2 inch and feed these guys in one at a time. And because remember this guy here, actually, let me see this guy here. Ooh, this might work. This does look like it's less than 1/2 inch. So I basically would need to run all the power cables up to the top. The power cables would get through. I don't think that the data cables will. So I think we'll definitely have to run a grinder up there to do that. So there's that. And then the power cables, those will be easy. You'll see that those will fit very easily within my 1/2 inch. And they might even fit within a little bit less. That's pushing it. That's pushing it, but I might be able to work with that one. This way here, I can just run the power cables in, feed the power cables in. They're plugged in on the outside of the cabinet right here, and then those will kind of feed in. We'll have one power feeding in down here for the DVR, and we'll run the other one up, and we'll put the other power cable right here so that the power cables are up here, or I don't know, it might make more sense to just run them both through right at the same spot, and then we'll have to drill a hole also for our Ethernet, and that one's also going to be super tight, but I think I might be able to actually just pull it off. I'm not going to worry about the Ethernet right this second, but as far as everything else goes, as long as I get that hole in the top to be able to feed these guys down here, then I'll be able to do that, and then we'll kind of feed the wires here to go up at the top, which means they'll kind of wrap up here through that thing there, because I don't think the DVR will not fit on that top shelf there, and there's no easy way to route it around. I could do maybe against the wall here, but we'll just run those cables up through there, and then the cables from the cameras will come in down through here, and that's kind of how we're going to have it all set up. So there is what we have. All right, so this is all in now. So what I did not need the grinder. Let me go up top here. You can see what that looks like. I ended up just doing 3 1/2 inch holes in a triangle like that. And then I was able to feed those down all through there. And then I used butyl tape as a grommet and a sealant. So I did that on all of the sides where there's a spot going through the metal cabinet. So we did the camera spot up here, and then we did the DVR spot from the bottom. So we have an HDMI cable ready to go. I have a mouse over here ready to go for when I need to come out here. I can just clear out this workbench and put up my little portable monitor and get that guy set up. So now I have all those cables up there. Now I need to run those and attach cameras to the four corners out here. A few words on the mounting of your cameras. Don't mount them on the side like this. The problem is there is no easy way to adjust the angles of your cameras when mounted straight against a wall like this. In this particular setting, that was the best way I determined to mount that one before I figured out the better way to mount the cameras and run the wires. This is how you want to get them mounted. You want to mount them from the top, so that way you can take advantage of both of the directions. So when you're mounting, make sure you're mounting them with the mount towards the top so the cameras can spin out and angle and move in whichever direction you need. So the cameras have been running for about a week now, and maybe 2 weeks now. And overall, the setup is working. One of the things I have noted, though, is that sometimes the cameras get stuck on night mode. The bottom two here are stuck on night mode. You'll kind of see it's super bright. You can't see a lot of detail over here. This one here, you can't see a whole lot of detail anyway. I would actually have to find those particular cameras and reboot their power in order to fix those. What I don't know is, have they been stuck that way for days, or is it just a nightly thing? The first night I had this tested, this one here was stuck on that mode. But overall, you can kind of see I have all of the entrances into the property all lined up there. Now, I have blurred the screen a little bit here just because I do not want to show all the OPSEC where we are. No reverse image searches. But what I do want to show you is the recording, how it works. This is actually the mode that actually shows us recording. So you can only put two cameras up at once, so channel camera 1, camera 2. And then down here we have a key. Here is motion detection. This is when it detects a human here. When it detects a vehicle. And doorbell, of course I don't have doorbell activated anywhere. And I'm not sure what the continue happens to say. But we'll go ahead and turn all of these on. So this will point out to us what something is. So let's go find one of these. And we can scroll in a little bit to kind of see. It's raining, so that's kind of what's going on there. So it looks like the rain motion is actually triggering them. I think that's probably the case. Here's where it detects a human. And I'm not particularly seeing a human over there, so maybe it's thinking raindrops or that giant bug floating around would be a human. Okay, so there's also a calendar up here. So let me go back to a day that I wasn't here. So I wasn't here this day. So let's see what's showing up on this day here. You can see I have a calendar at the top. I can pull out a number of different days. So let's see. This one here picked up motion, but nothing else on camera 4. There's a little bit of human picked up here. So I'm not seeing that human, but again, it looks like rain. So rain is triggering a lot of motions. Let's see if I can find a day that's not raining. Let's go to day 4th. No, not the 11th, the 4th. Thank you. And let's see what we got on there. So there's pretty much how the DVR system works. Overall, for a completely offline system that's just going to record for me several days out in advance, that if I notice something that seems off on the property, this is working fine. As far as an alerting system that's going to text me or show me something, I'll tell you, I am not going to advocate you get this one. There's too many questions with the security, wanting 9-year-old browsers, running the phone app that pokes weird holes in your network security, requiring location and names, overriding the DVR settings with the internet-based settings. Those are all problematic things. So I'd be cautious about that. But for an offline system that's just passively taking a look at the property line, that if I notice something weird, I can come and check the camera feed, I think it works fine for that. So don't get this system if you're looking for something that's good and will alert you, you can access from your device. But if you want something that's just a good CCTV offline, I don't see a problem with this one, and the $300 price point's actually pretty good. So let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments down below. I'm going to leave you with one video I have of me walking out and grabbing, oh, look at that. There's a cat or something. Not my cat, but there's an animal there. Let me see. Oh, it looks like a fox or a deer or something is being picked up at night. It's hard to tell what exactly it is. Raccoon? Hard to say exactly what it is. It's some type of animal that got picked up on the camera. But anyway, yeah, for an offline DVR system that costs $300, you can buy at a local store. Not too bad. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.